Hello, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Reading Corner. I am Jackie, and I'm going to update you guys on my reading today. So, currently, I'm trying to get some books read that aren't fantasy related because after today, tomorrow begins Fantasy-a-thon. Which, unfortunately, I won't be able to read any much fantasy tomorrow. Well, I will, but I do have to go to work. I don't know what I think. I have to double check and see what time I get off. I think I get off around like 5-ish. So I will have a few hours to do some reading, but then as I've said before, I am someone who does like watching TV and movies, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just because you like both TV and books does not mean don't judge me. But although I do want to prioritize reading, or at least make it equal. That's one of my goals this year. That's why I try to read, in the morning and in the evening. And then I always bring a book with me to work, which means I have to bring my mass market paperback books. So first, let me talk about the books I'm trying to get done. I probably won't get these books done within a day unless I read straight up. I just read all day, which will not happen. And I'm not ashamed of it. Yes, I value reading, think it's very important, but I also have access to TV and live channels, okay? And I love watching the internet, and I know people look at it as going into a black hole, and sometimes I'm feeling like that I'm just falling into this black hole, but other times I enjoy it. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying that as much as reading a book. Yes, you're not exercising your imagination, you're using someone else's ideas, like you're having someone else's ideas projected to you, and you're just sitting there staring at a screen. But I still think that, they bring these stories to life instead of just having to use your imagination. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, sorry, that's something that, I have a strong opinion on. But the books I'm trying to get done, okay, so this one I have a better chance of getting done by the end of the day. Well, probably not, but I have a pretty good chance. And it's Stephen King's Revival. Although it does have some time, although as I'm reading it, I feel like there is a bit of a science fiction kind of feel to it. It's the story of Jamie Morton, and when he was a little boy, this new minister came to town. And he was a young man that all the girls had a crush on, all the women and the little girls had a crush on, all the boys and the guys admired him and wanted to be like him. But then there was an accident where his young wife and baby boy, get killed in a car accident. And this really traumatized him, and he doesn't understand why it happened, how could God let this happen, so he ends up losing faith in God and walks away from being a minister and focuses more on his other passion, which is science, particularly electricity. And it everything falls apart after the accident, especially when this minister, Charles Jacobs, gives this what's known as the terrible sermon. And then, because Jamie has lost faith in God himself and has gone down a very dark path. He's gotten into, working on his music. He's gotten into drugs, which is typical of such a trope of a musician character. And then he keeps crossing paths with this guy, and this guy is dramatically changed, especially when he starts using his skills with electricity to charge people's brains so that it can heal them. And it really has this powerful effect on Jamie as he sees Charles Jacobs and how his ability to heal people, how it affects him. And I'm close to the end. There's 14 chapters, but like any other author who writes books that have short amount of chapters, there's a lot of pages in each individual chapter. But in this case, I'm really interested. I'm really engaged in the story. Although I think Melissa from Binge Reader, who is an avid King fan, and she pointed out I was going through looking at people's reviews, how I do, and try not to let myself get spoiled. But she pointed out something very interesting, that the way this book is written is very much like a Lifetime movie. You know, it's kind of sentimental and cliche at times, and a bit dramatic, a bit over dramatic. But I enjoy it, and I don't know if I'm going to rate 3 or 4 stars via Goodreads. Because even though I did a video where I'm a little conflicted about the star system on Goodreads, I still feel obligated to put my star rating, because I don't like seeing it blank unless I DNF a book. Even then, I might give it a star rating, because if I've gotten a pretty good amount into the books, like more than like half or more than halfway, then I might give a review. But I know that people will be like, "How dare you give a review when you didn't even finish the book?" And at the same, I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, like, if you've gotten a good way into the book, you gotta give a reason why. I mean, even if you don't give a star rating, you could at least explain in your review why you didn't have to, which is what I always try to do. Sometimes I get lazy, but I think so far, especially this year, I've made sure to do reviews as best I could on every book I read, whether I DNF it or not. But so far, I'm really enjoying this. It's not my favorite King, but I do like it. I kind of like his more supernatural horror books, but it's good. This is a good book. It's very enjoyable and very interesting, and I imagine it has more value for people who do have strong faith and are spiritual. I think it potentially could have more of an impact on those kind of people, such as myself. I do believe in God. I don't go to church that often, but although I think Elsa did say she believes in God. I don't know. Don't take my word for it. But I think she did say that she does believe in God. But I'm one of those people who does believe in God, believes in the higher power, and he's not just some visible man in the sky telling us what to do. It's another thing I don't understand sometimes. I admit I don't agree with atheists, and I don't understand why they think the way that. But no, this is not just because I'm saying this. I'm just talking here. I don't expect anyone in the comments section below to share their opinions about. I don't want to go into a religious debate online. I don't like doing that. I mean, I know you're probably thinking, well, then why did you say something in the first place? Well, it's because I don't always think before I say things. So anyway, see, I'm pretty far into this. You know, I could, if I spend all of today reading, I could probably get this done within a day, but I probably won't spend all day reading. And I also decided to start reading Rules of Civility, because this one is another one that's not that long. About these two female, it's set in the 1930s. So far, it's about these two female friends, and they both like this guy that they meet. And then they end up in a car accident, and one of them, not our narrator, but the other one, I think breaks her foot or something. There's a car accident, she goes to the windshield, and she ends up damaging her foot, so the guy between them kind of ends up taking care of her, and they start dating. And then, but the narrator goes about her life, she accepts this, even though she liked the guy, and she's just been going through her life, you know, and it's the 1930s, so women are secretaries, or typists, or teachers. So it's really interesting. I don't think I've read a book that's in the 30s. I've read books in the 1830s, but not the 1930s. I think. Maybe I have, I don't remember. I have to go through my historical fiction library and see. But it's really good. I can see why Olive likes it and reads it every year since she first read it. I'm referring to Olive from a book Olive. It's nicely written. The author does an interesting thing on the dialogue. Instead of doing the quotes around dialogue, she just does the little line. Which is kind of interesting. I'm so used to seeing quotes around dialogue that when an author doesn't do that, when they don't write dialogue in the traditional way, it kind of throws me off, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's different. And I don't know if maybe it's because of the setting of the book, I don't know, or the time period that she's doing it, because it kind of is like the 1920s, where it's a little more, there's a more fast-paced rhythm to the world, and like you notice, and I think it's written kind of like how movies that are set in the dialogue in the 1930s, in old movies set in the 30s, like King Kong, the original King Kong. But yeah, I'm getting through it pretty. I'm able to read quite a few chapters in each time I read it, because like the chapters are short, and as I've said, I've come to realize that I think I like short chapters. Okay, so those are the books I'm trying to get done, or at least read as much as I can before tomorrow. So the books I'm gonna focus on for Fantasy-a-thon are, first I'm going to for a book that I have that's not from a genre or a type of book that I don't read that often, I'm going with The Witcher, this first book in the Witcher series, The Last Wish. And I'm going with this because even though, yes, I would read something like this, it's short story format, these first two books. The Last Wish and the other one is Sword of Destiny. Because, yes, I have read short stories, like I'm reading the Bane Chronicles right now. I've been reading that one on and off. And I've read Kelly Link's books, but she writes, like, magical realism type stories that are all short stories. And I do want to try her again someday. Like, I'll read Stranger Things Happen. But, like, it's not, I don't read it that often. I don't read short stories that often. Because they feel almost incomplete to me, like they're missing something. Or at least that's been my experience so far. Or they're just little tidbits of someone's life. I like horror short stories, supernatural / horror. Like, I like, one of my favorite shows is Are You for the Dark. I really like it. And I'm cool with, I liked Stephen King's, although maybe that's more of a novella, but The Langoliers. And then I think, and then also I'm enjoying Secret Garden, Secret Window. Although I'm going to stop that because I might go to one of his other short stories in that collection, the 4 Past Midnight collection, because I have the movie and I think that's kind of ruining it for me. It's making it less interesting because I know what's going to happen in that one. And then I'm also, for the challenge of reading a book that's a book that I've started, but like book that I started a while back, then plan to come back to it. So in a way, not necessarily you DNF like permanently, you're never gonna read it, but DNF as in you just stopped reading it for a period of time. And that is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, which is basically about this young girl who, after her father is murdered because he's a traitor to their government, and her mom and little brother are in prison, she becomes an assassin, and she trains to become an assassin in a particular school known as the Red Church, which is a brutal school. And it's kind of hard to make friends in that school because it's all about, who's going to come out and be the top assassin, essentially. So it's like, don't make friends because these people are in competition. And it's not like a fun competition, it's people will die. And I've been told that Jay, I know that Jay is not afraid to kill off people, and he has already killed off a couple people. So far it's really good. I know there is controversy on the footnotes thing. I have no problem with it, but I can kind of understand where the footnotes would kind of be distracting. But as someone else, as Maddie pointed out, the host of this readathon, that sometimes some footnotes can kind of explain things. It kind of helps move the story along and explain things that are mentioned in the story. Because, of course, authors are supposed to show, not tell. So sometimes they can't tell certain things, but there's sometimes things that they want you to know. There's 36 chapters, so I'm pretty far into the book. And then because I've started quite a lot of fantasy series, I picked this one because Dark Dawn, the last book, is coming out this year, so I need to finish this one so I can get to God's Grave and then and then get Dark Dawn. I might wait until, I don't know if I'm gonna wait until it comes out on paperback or if I'm just gonna buy it because I can't wait. Who knows? But because again, as I've said before, I'm not one of those people who's bothered by if my series books have a mixture of hardback and paperback editions. Now, I don't mean like multiple copies. I mean like my Dark Tower series, the first 4 books are mass market paperback, but books 5 and 6 in that series are like trade paperback. So they're the big original editions with illustrations. So yeah, that one, and then I just remembered I have the other ones are over here, on my other side. I'm also going to focus on orcs for a diverse read because I feel like orcs is the orc characters. I feel like you could argue that they're a marginalized group because they're usually like the lackeys for the bad guys. There's no individualism. They're like the Nazis. Or you have just the army of orcs that are brutal and vicious. So I thought I would try this for the diverse read. And this is also a book that I did start a while back. You basically have the main orc army and its general have been charged with retrieving this magical cylinder for their queen, who's half human, Queen Genesta, and they just recently found out that this cylinder is extremely powerful and dangerous, as some knowledge that is very important, and if it's in the wrong hands, then it could spell disaster. Because the knowledge, of course, is neutral, just like magic, and that depending on whose hands it ends up in, it could go either good or bad. And this is really cool because not only have we met orcs, but we've also just recently met a gremlin. And I'm only familiar with one story that has gremlins in it. And that is there's that movie Gremlins, basically, in which I think I saw it one time, and that was it. And all I remember from that one is in this like pet shop, and there was a pink glow in the pet shop. That's all I remember of Gremlins. I don't even know if it's that same one. And then there's actually an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode where there's a gremlin in a camera that makes bad things happen to people when you take their picture. Like, he causes mischief. So there's a gremlin he's the one who tells General Strike and his group about the cylinder. He explains it to them. So the gremlin is kind of like the wizard or the dwarf of the group, I guess, of the story. Like the one who has the knowledge. It's good. The chapters aren't that long. It's very gritty. It's not for, people under 16. As I'm always saying in every video, when I talk about this book, there's 2 L's in that guy's name, the author's name. There is a rape scene in the very beginning of the book. Rape of a human, so if you're not comfortable with that, just gonna warn you. I guess a trigger warning. But it's very dark and gritty, so I'm gonna read that. And then this is the book that Reagan from Peruse Project introduced me to, so I'm finally gonna start it. I wonder if she would participate in this readathon, because I think it would be perfect for her, but I don't know, she might want to expand her reading horizons, or she hasn't heard this readathon yet. But this is Cinda Williams' Chime of the Seven Realms series, and I've only read chapter 1. It's basically a princess and a wizard. They're going on, and the wizard's friend are going on this mission to save the world or something. I don't remember. I wish I could remember. I should, you know, I should have reminded myself when I started this video, but yeah, it's you can tell it's YA, but it's still I was very interested by the first chapter, definitely like I'm a plot driven reader, so as long as the plot is entertaining and good, then I'll check it out. So those are the fantasy books, and also Tome Top. Sam has finally announced Tome Topple Round 8, which is the 13th through the 26th. It's a 2 weeks, so it's a little bit longer than Fantasy-a-thon. So I'm probably going to do some overlapping, but I have quite a few books that I need to read for Fantasy-a-thon. Tome Topple. And likely with this one, I don't have to just read up straight fantasy. I love fantasy, my all-time favorite genre, but sometimes it's nice to take a little bit of a break, and I do want to expand my reading horizons. That's been one of my goals the last 2 years. So I've been kind of looking at my 500-page books, and there's at least one on here that's kind of risky for me to include it because it's near the 400 mark, but it's for like 490 or something. So, and as I said in one of my Top 5 Wednesday videos, it's not like Sam is gonna come after you or message you or anything, So I think she said in her video. She says in every one of her videos, because I guess people have gotten on her about that, or have said things on their videos about that. But she's not going to go after you if you don't exactly if you read a book that's in the 400 mark. She's not going to kill you, but just try to. So there's quite a few books I want to read for Tome Topple. I don't really have a set TBR. I'm still kind of thinking about it, but Bleak House is one that I want to continue. It's Charles Dickens' novel. One of his classics, one of his bigger ones. I've basically been introduced to all the characters. I think we get the overarching plot with the character of Esther, who hasn't come to Bleak House. It's hard to sum up with this kind of book, actually, but problem with Dickens, I think, is a very polarizing author. Sometimes you can appreciate his books and get into his writing style. Other times they can be really boring. So I wanted that one, but okay, this one I definitely feel like I should pursue for Tome Topple, and I feel like maybe I should include it in my Fantasy-a-thon. But this I've had since we moved here, because actually right before we moved here, when we were going to visit my sister, I got it from BJ's. This is, and of course, this is the TV show tie-in edition, which I've been meaning to watch the show. This is American Gods by Neil Gaiman, about this guy who, after he's been in prison and his wife has died, he's been recruited by this guy named Mr. Wednesday to help him with the Greek Norse gods, defeat the new gods. Like, you have the god of television, the god of music, the god of technology, all the modern gods, like what we worship today. And Shadow, our main character, has been recruited to help them. And I think that Mr. Wednesday is actually, I think I just found out, well, not just, but I think the last bit I read, I think we found out that Mr. Wednesday is actually Odin. I love that. I love when we read books where, like, you have gods disguised as mortals, and then you see them in their god form at the same time. Like, they have a Supernatural episode like that, where Sam and Dean Winchester are recruited by these gods. It's during season 5, I think. And when it's revealed they are the vessels for Michael and Lucifer. And they are recruited by the Greek and Norse gods and gods of India and all that. I don't know what those guys would be called. And you kind of see them looking like mortals, but then we see, like, the camera shows what they look like as, what they would look like as in their god form, which I thought was really cool. But anyway, I want to read this one. So I might bring this one when I go to Virginia, because we will be going, I get to go to Virginia to see my sister. Yay. That is so I've been wanting, I hate that my mom gets to go and I don't, because, you know, I can't ask golf all the time. And I just got this job only a few years ago, so it's like, I wouldn't want to ask golf all the time. Not, you know, because I would, you know, I feel like it wouldn't be right, you know? And plus, they would probably deny me, you know, if I asked off constantly. I need to show that I have a good work ethic. This is another one that I need to continue with, and this is the one I've been bringing lately. After I finished Hero of Ages, and unfortunately, I feel like it's kind of hard for me to bring Robin Hobb's books, because the way they're written, like, there's no really breaks, and the chapters are really long. But this one actually has page breaks. So I've been bringing this one. I decided that this is the next book I'm going to bring with me to when I go to work, so I can read during my 50 minutes instead of being the typical millennial and getting on my damn phone. I'm so caught in the middle about that, because on the one hand, I kind of agree with the older generation. I do think as millennials, we can be a bit arrogant and think we know everything. But then at the same time, as a millennial, I feel a little like, no, not all of us are like that. Some of us are actually very down-to-earth people who realize that we don't know everything. You know, and respect the previous generation. But again, that's another topic that I don't want to go into. I probably shouldn't mention it, but as I said before, I don't think. I just say whatever pops in my head. So this is Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. And I don't know how much magic is. I mean, this is considered fantasy, but I don't know how much magic is going to be in there. I think it's going to be very much like Six of Crows. And some people, I mean, people do say it's like Six of Crows, but better. And I loved the Six of Crows duology. In fact, I preferred it over the Grisha trilogy, like most people. Not everybody does. Some people actually like the Grisha trilogy over that one. But so I'm wondering if there's going to be magic involved at all in this world. But this is basically this young orphan learned to be a thief, grows up to be a notorious thief, and a gentleman. They're called the Gentleman Bastards, and it's about his life, I guess. And the back description implies there's going to be someone competition for him that is just as dangerous, who's very dangerous, and a threat to him and his gang. So this one I need to get to. Let's see. I don't have the sequel though. And this is 719 pages. 719 pages. Okay, and then also, here are some classics that I need to read, that I want to read, so they're different from the fantasy. Middlemarch, which is basically about the town of Middlemarch and the residents of this town and their lives. So it's not the most exciting book. Not everybody's gonna love it, but I enjoyed the writing style. It's a very beautiful story, and like, so far anyway. Oh, it's in the years up to the first Reform Bill in 1832. I guess that's how it's. But it's just a life story. A story about a slice of life. And I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's over 500 pages and I want to read it. I think it is. Let me double check. Yep, it's in the 700 mark. Now, this is another one I'm going to read. Now, I know this one is definitely over 500 pages. In fact, it's more than that. It's beyond that. And that is, I've started reading The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas, about this young man who gets framed as a Bonapartist, and when he escapes prison, it's about him getting his revenge, and he creates the identity of the Count of Monte Cristo after he finds some treasure that he was told about, and uses that to get his revenge, and, you know, give to the people that were that suffered from the revenge plot against him. The Tubi, and it's classic. I enjoyed the movie, so I thought it was about time I read the book, and I guess there's been enough time, I don't have the movie, and I don't watch it as much as I watch Secret Window. Unlike that one, I can actually read this book and still appreciate it. Plus, it's not like an exact play-by-play of the original movie, because it's the longest book. And Secret Garden, Secret Window is a short novel. So, it's almost a play-by-play. But, yeah, I have not gotten to read it lately, so I need to read a little bit more. And I want to get to the point where I'm reading more than 2 chapters. So I need to read quite a bit tonight, especially before tomorrow, because tomorrow I gotta stick with I gotta read quite a bit of fantasy. And then, okay, so some of these now are kind of risky, like the 5th season. I don't think I could get away with reading this one because it's like 400. It's 470, 400 and. Like, it's not more than 475 pages, I think. Okay, well, those don't even count. So, I mean, like, basically, Sam doesn't want us to. She says it's cool if you get a book that's like 500, 480, or 490, but she doesn't want us to go, like, past, like, before, like, 475. Like, she doesn't want us to a book that's shorter than that. So, this one, I could read it, and like I said, Sam's not the police, not the book police, not the, she's not gonna go after you she's not going to go after me if I read a book like this. But this also kind of is a book that I was considering for fantasy-a-thon anyway, so I might read it just this week. And then this one is a new book that I just got, and I got the second one to this book. I want to check out. And that is Dwarves. This was one that was introduced to me by Holly Hart's Books. Like Orcs, it's about, like, a group of fantasy characters that aren't usually the center stage. It's not their stories. Like, the closest to that we got was The Hobbit. The Hobbit was about a hobbit helping dwarves, and they're trying to get back their homeland. So it's essentially, that's the only one I know of where it focuses on that, unless you count Snow White. But yeah, so I kind of want to get it, because it's a little different. It's a little bit of a different fantasy, and I consider this for Diverse-a-thon, but for Fantasy-a-thon, because I feel like it's very about a marginalized group, the dwarves, but the dwarves is fantasy. But then it was just like, no, I need to get back to Orcs. And then the other one I just took off my shelf was this one. The Expanse series, the first book, Leviathan Wakes. I'm pretty sure this is over 500 pages. It's 500 plus pages. Oh, well, actually, it's oh, okay, so it is, guys. So actually, it's 561 pages. So it will still work. But this is one of my first sci-fi, and I have thought about this one as well, Dune. I keep thinking about it as well. But I'm kind of nervous because Murphy Navier, the way she talked about the writing style, I'm nervous that basically I wasted my money. I'm not going to get into this book, but I'm going to try. But I don't know if I'll read that one. That might be a consideration, though. This is another one I need to get back to, The Stand, which is basically a flu wipes out the human population. Okay, this video is getting long. So, and then it's about the survivors, and there's good versus evil, blah, blah, blah. So I need to get back to reading this one. So this might be consideration as well as this, because I've been wanting to read this one. But then I was like, but I want to read The Stand too. So I asked people on Facebook. But I might bring this one with me, because when my first thought when I heard about this book was Rumple from the Once Upon a Time version. So there's that one. Okay, I gotta hurry because this video is getting really, really long. I should have I should have come up with a TBR, but I wanted to film this now in case I get a call from work. Although I'm not working this weekend, surprisingly. Okay. So next, I don't think this one actually counts. Let me see. This one might not count. Last book. Oh, well, I guess so. I can't read this one because I think the individual stories would have to be 500 plus pages, and it's 2 novellas in one. So of course they're not 500 plus pages. So I guess I can't count this one. Okay, so. Alright, so this is another one, the band, the first, this is one I've been wanting to read, but I've been trying to wait a little while and savor the fact that I have it, but I do need to read this one, so I might read this one for Tome Topple. It's basically about a group of mercenaries that are in retirement, so they're old, fat, and gray, and when one of them, his daughter, gets kidnapped, so he decides to get the band back together, and they go on a rescue mission to help his daughter. It's what I know. And then I also got to get back into this one. This is another adult fantasy, Malice. There's basically about this kingdom there's some evil entering the kingdom again from a long time ago, and people are worried about it coming and happening, but not everybody believes it's going to happen. And I know this is a really poor description, but it's been a long time since I read the book, so I don't really remember it that well. But I'm not going to start over if I pick this one, and it's the Banished Lands. And these groups of people come together, and they're the ones who are, you have a young teenage boy, a young king who's trying to, prove that it's time for his father to retire and that he needs to take over. That's the prince, and then you have the guy working, a young man who wants to prove himself, so he becomes part of the prince's war band and his right-hand man. And then you have this one young man who thinks he's not the prince, but he thinks he has a right to he wants power, and he will do things differently. And then, of course, this one is kind of close, but I've been wanting to read another Sarah Waters book, and this one is about this young doctor trapped in a house with these rich people. And I think there's a ghost. There's a ghost in it. This one is kind of close. And Stephen King blurb this one. Speaking of Stephen King, this is another Stephen King that I've been wanting to read for Tome Topple, and that is The Shining, about the haunted hotel and how this man goes slowly insane. This man, Jack Torrance, slowly goes insane because of all the ghosts in the haunted house. And his son, his little boy, 7-year-old son, can see ghosts. All the ghosts in the hotel, and is traumatized by all this. So, I might bring this one instead of The Stand. I don't know, but either way, I need to finish this one. I'm really determined to finish Revival because I haven't finished any Stephen King books this year. And, this is my Stephen King project year. And then there's a few more I want to mention, like The Name of the Wind is the second book, and this is one I consider for fantasy-a-thon, and obviously it's perfect science for Tome Topple. It's a sequel to Name of the Wind about this young man who has made quite a lot of accomplishments in his world, and he is telling this chronicler his story. And each book is going to be the nights of where he's telling his story. His family gets killed. He goes to a magic school and so he can learn about the thing that killed his parents. And it's a long book. It's very meandering, as Murphy Napier put it. But it's also very intriguing and interesting. Although she herself wasn't as big a fan of the second book. Like, it meandered almost too much. Let's see. Okay, so these last ones, let's see if this one would work for Tome Topple. Okay, where's the... Nope, can't read it for Tome Topple. Okay, but I could read it for Fantasy-a-thon if I wanted to. And then, let's see, Brandon Sanderson's books. The last two are Brandon Sanderson books. You have Warbreaker, which is this young woman is betrothed to, okay, so this one could work. It's 676 pages. So I could read this one for Tome Topple. This young woman is sent to marry a god. But she wasn't the one who was supposed to marry the god. Her sister was, but then the father at the last minute changed his mind. And he sent her, and then the other daughter goes to where her sister was supposed to go. But she decides that she's going to rescue her sister instead from this horrible marriage. And they have a very unique, and like in trademark Brandon Sanderson, there is a very unique magic system. This time to do with colors instead of metals. And then last is The Way of Kings. And I'm not going to even bother summing this up because I don't remember what description I got for this book. But I've been wanting to read this book ever since the way Reagan for Peruse Project and Elliot Brooks talks about this series. It's his biggest one up to date. Oh dang, it's a little ripped. What happens when I get mass market paper bags? They're easily ripped. Yeah, it's definitely because it's over. It's like in the 1,000-page mark, in fact. So I could read I could have read March of the Mammoths. I could have read that one. But I didn't really participate. That one I kind of found out about at last minute, and I guess I could have done that one, but I'm not one of those people who can read the bigger books. I mean, in fact, I find it very impressive that Steve Dotty can read such big, chunky books. I don't know how he does it. I know how it's because he doesn't watch TV. So he spends all his time reading books. So, hopefully this video will upload because it's really long. But if you weren't entirely bored and liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not. And I hope you guys will participate in either Fantasy-a-thon, which is April 5th. Through, I want to say, the 17th. And Tome Topple, which is the 13th through the 26th. And as always, I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!